Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. So, today we have Nadia with us, and Nadia's a friend that I've known when we started out as interns at UCLA Remap. So, we met there in LA, and it's just great to catch up with her after all these years. I think it's about possibly about 5 years that we were in LA. So, she is an experienced producer. She's worked recently in Tiny Island Productions, worked in Toka Boca as an assistant production manager, and you know, you may think, hey, why am I just interviewing a producer today? But the interesting thing is she has been an animator, and prior to be, I mean, she's trained as an animator in the School of the Visual Arts before she became a producer. So let's beam her in to welcome her. Aha, and we will start our review pretty soon. Okay, I think she's starting to get beamed in. Okay, Nadia. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, you're live now. Yes. So yes, we have Nadia here today, and yeah, would you like to share a little bit more about what you're currently doing right now, and where you're at the moment?
Hello everyone, and thank you, Dom, for having me around. So I'm Nadia Wijaya. I was a producer in Tiny Island for 3 years. Right now, I am just waiting for my job to start, also as a producer. But on the sideline, I do have my own IP that I'm very invested into. So while the job is gonna, start in a month's time, that's where I'm focusing my attention on. Yeah,
So I mean, when I met you at UCLA, that was back in when? That was in 2020.
that was more than 5 years ago, Don.
Wow.
That was like when I was in poly. So that has been 9 years. 9 years.
9 years. Wow. And how,
Yeah.
how has it been like, your entire journey in these 9 years, starting up from that internship at UCLA?
I
You're
think
still studying back then, right? You were still
yeah.
yeah.
So I think when you met me back then, I was also studying animation. In fact, I was studying 3D animation in Singapore Poly. And then after that, that was like my last year in Singapore Poly. So then subsequently, I went to the States and I went to study in New York in School of Visual Art, also in animation because I really wanted to pursue that industry. Um, and I was studying there for 3 years, and then I was working there for a year as a 3D artist, freelancing from multiple studios, from Frame Store
Mm.
to the Molecule, and then I ended up in Toka Boca. That's my first time being in a management role.
Mm.
And 3 years down the road, a year after that, I came to Singapore and became a producer permanently after that in 3 years' time.
Wow. So what made the jump for you? I mean, you're previously interning at all these couple of places. Framestore is one of them, yeah? And
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big jump, right? From being an artist to being a kind of like more in a management kind of role, right? More like a producer. How was that jump like?
Um, so I think in the first place, I always had in mind that I wanted to have my own entity. I love art. I love doing in 3D animation, but the big question to me then has always been like, how am I gonna make this a business of mine? Like, how can I earn money out of this, right? So I went 8 years being a student in this industry in 3D animation, but I came out 8 years later not knowing how to still earn money out of it. If anything, like, yeah, I became a lot more skilled in the art itself, but I don't know how to sell myself. I don't know how to get clients. I mean, I think like that's every artist who just graduate. That's always the biggest question. Is like, yes, now I've come out with like all the skills. Where am I gonna put all the skills into? How am I gonna earn money? I hope somebody will like get me into their company, and I'll have to like keep working onto my skills till I die. Something like that. So I mean, that was like that road that I already foresee myself going down the road of being an artist is
Mm-hmm.
you keep honing that skills, and you potentially, if one day you have enough capital, maybe you can have your own business of yourself and then put yourself out there as a service.
Mm-hmm.
That's one road, and I felt like that road was very a long path, and I really want to be able to learn faster on how I can actually earn that money using that
Mm.
skills of mine. So, I had a 1 year experience being an artist. I wanted to see, and I wanted to, skip myself to see how is it this whole business side of things work. And so when I
Mm.
came back to Singapore, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that Coney Island is by David. So I talked to David, and David actually gave me a choice. Look, you have your skills as an artist, and if you're in if you want to be in a mid role, you could come in here as a technical artist, as a lighting artist, which is sort of like in terms of the artistic skill. That's where I'm more um, good at. But he said, I think you have a knack on being a producer. You're
Mm.
really good at communicating. You have really pretty good social skills. You could try that out. But if you're gonna come in here as a producer, you're gonna start from zero. So then, he kind of gave me some time to weigh upon it. And for me, that thought of always wanting to know how to run a business with my
Mm.
skills in the long run is always there. So that's why I said, okay, you know what? It's okay. I don't need to be in the mid role. I'll start from fresh. I'll literally come in as a junior, and I want to learn from you on literally how to get client, how to actually manage a business, how to
Mm.
manage a huge animation pipeline. Like, how do you manage the budget? How do
Mm.
you control the timeline? And I
Mm.
think it's really a privilege to be able to learn it at such a. I think I'm still pretty young to be able to learn that. I had a lot of communicate. I talked to a lot of artists even back when I was in the States, and to be honest, like if you're talking to anybody that's under 30, you hardly have a
Mm.
lot of people who have the knowledge to be able to tell you, look, this is how you can actually sell your skill set in the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think like it's only until you have like maybe 5 or 6 years experience, then they'll be able to like, okay, I've gone through this whole, scene. Now I'm at this space where I've already tried to brand myself and like sell myself. So I
Mm.
can give you that tips. But typically the people who give me that advice tends to be people who are, slightly older, slightly already have a brand new brand that they're starting out. And I'm privileged to be able to get to know that
Mm.
at an earlier age when I'm still not in my 30s yet. So I think that's where I position myself as, a little bit young but knowledgeable in a lot of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where I came in.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into how you started out in school, right? Because you didn't just want to be a craftsperson; you wanted to be like the person who is able to just finish the project and finish it well. You weren't focused on
Yeah.
the nitty gritty stuff, right?
Yeah. I always tell myself that I think I'm a jack of all trades. It's not a good thing, neither is it a bad thing. It's just that I don't have a good attention span to actually nitty grit on a specific thing. And that's also the reason why I like to be a look developer and a lighter, because I don't need to be like so focused on like the details of like making sure that cloth is like really, really there and like that fur is really, really there. As long
Mm.
as a whole picture, like that character is developed, that room, that environment is looking awesome with the lighting and all of the textures and stuff, then I'm good to go, right? So um with that personality, I think it really fits me well as a producer, because then I'm roaming around to make sure as a whole project, things are getting done according to time. Doesn't need to be like super perfect, but I need to have the eye to be able to like, okay, you know what, this is actually good enough. If this timeline and this amount of budget that's already spent, I think we can move ahead to go to the next phase of like doing rigging, that sort of
Mm.
stuff. Um, and it takes, I think that's where my 8 years of like studying comes into practice, because I can sense or get to know when I should stop and move forward with the phase.
Mm. Did your artist friends go like, "Oh my God, you're becoming a producer after 8 years, 8 years of learning and honing your craft? You're just going to dump it all away and move towards producing." How did your friends react?
I mean, yeah, actually, a lot of people asking me, why are you being a producer? Because, there's a lot of negativity towards the idea of what a producer is in the artist realm. Um, and I always like, why do you want to go to that line? Like, like you're pretty good at yourself and your skills. Like, why do you want to go there?
You're a
Um,
sellout. Did they say that?
yeah, they did. They did. They felt like you betrayed us. You're gonna be those people who are gonna like just like tell us to stop doing it and just like quickly finishing it. Um, but back to it. The reason, I mean, I always know what I want to do. That my goal is there, and
Mm.
people could say whatever that they want to say. Why I choose this and why restart from the ground zero.
Mm.
To me personally, because I know where my goal is, I
Mm.
don't think my 8 years was a waste. I really felt that like my experience of like knowing and honing that skills with animation is
Mm-hmm.
super, super valuable to give better judgment to how I want to pursue my IP, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you sound quite savvy, in terms of like how do you manage the business side of things? Is there somewhere they got it from?
Yeah. So um I I do have a history. Well, my dad actually worked as a printer, and he would actually print children's books, and he does mass production, and a lot of his clients tend to be children's books that are in German. So I can never
Mm.
actually, when I was young, I never understood any of the books. All I know that this book is so entertaining because it's so pretty. The illustrations of all of these German books is always so pretty, and I always love like just scrolling through it. I mean, I don't understand a single word of it, but that's fine to me. I still understand the concept of the whole thing. And maybe that's where I got this knack of like, I was inspired by my dad, right? Like he's
Mm.
still doing a really pretty art book with like really nice graphics, and I love it, and I would keep at it, and I still have an emotional attachment to the art form itself, and I still aspire my dad for making it, but he didn't have to be the one that literally draw the book. He didn't have to be the one to literally, create the script and all of that. I think,
Mm-hmm.
and he, there's a lot of rooms for how you can play around being in the art scene. You don't have to be the artist if that's not what you want to be. And my inspiration is from my dad being able to run a business and still be in the art scene. So
Mm.
I want to be like that, right? I don't just want to be stuck as a artist. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
able to be a person that be able to sell art and be able to communicate to the mass audience on amazing crafts,
Mm.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So what's a day like in your life as a producer? How is it like?
Hmm. How's a day like? I guess it varies. So when I was I already had experience working on commercial uh, animations. I was working on TV animation as well, and we did like a very long form, high render quality animation as well, and that took kind of like also a year. So I do have a rough understanding of like short form project to long form projects. So
Mm.
that question's a little bit hard to answer on how my day to day is. It really depends on like how hustle and bustle the timeline is and how much of the budget we're given by the client.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that defines, sometimes that's the thing that defines whether the artist would love the producer or not. Sometimes it's really due to the amount of the budget and the amount of the timeline that is given to the producer from the client.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes we are, the situation really forces us to be a bad guy as a producer to the artist. We're on the neck to make sure that those projects finish, right? This is the client that is the one that's giving us money. I'm responsible to make sure that this is done. So sometimes I'm so sorry, I'm gonna have to force you to do this faster, And I was on both ends, right? I was also that artist that why are you telling me to work faster? I'm already working 110%. I can't work any faster. But if there's anything that I tend to, me personally as a producer, is I would sit next to my artist and actually communicate with him. Okay, look, which is the one that is actually going to take you more time? How can we which are the areas that we can maybe try to cut it off just so that we can do it faster? And sometimes as an artist, you guys tend to be very perfectionist, and I completely understand why you want to do the best of your craft. Sometimes they would just have to give it in because they know that we just have to literally work together to get this thing out of the door and get our money in, right? So that's something that I always try to do with my fellow artists. But back when I was in Tiny Island, I would have to sit down and really talk to them personally on how they can approach certain things.
So do you think the artists in your team will actually see you differently because you can speak their language? Because you have 8 years of training at SVA, yeah?
Yeah.
So do they see you in a different light with, say, maybe another producer who doesn't have that kind of background?
I mean, there were very varied personality back when we were in TIP. When I was in TIP, we had about 4-5 different producers, and all of us are just a little bit different from one another in terms of our character. I mean, I don't think I have that brand from everybody for being because she was an artist, she could understand me. I think the one thing that people tell me, or my fellow artists will tell me, is that I'm just talkative, and I just it's easy to talk to me because I don't necessarily have to talk to them work. They feel comfortable to talk to me as a friend, and we kind of just be able to work together to solve it. So I don't think they have that impression of me as a artist, as a producer, but it's just oh my God, we have this problem. How do we work this out? And then I'm yeah, we do have this problem. Okay, let's just brainstorm together. We don't have that positioning on who's higher and whatnot like that. I don't really want that to be really possible.
So you're kind of like their guardian angel, right? Of sorts.
I don't know about that. Maybe you should ask the artists who are in Tiny Island about that. Yeah, I don't want to say anything if I'm a guardian angel or not.
Hey, but you're the friend. I mean, you kind of look out for them and to make sure that things get delivered on time.
Yeah. I mean, there's a two side of it, right? No matter what, I do try my best to be that person that will be able to connect to the artist. But there's always that moment where it gets ugly, where we start to see, as a producer, it's so easy to get absorbed in the project and just see things just based on calendars and numbers just draining down every day, right? And sometimes when it's crunch time, it's very easy for us to forget that all this craft are still manpower. It takes a lot of manpower to make. So when we get into that mode, it does tend to be disconnected. There's always a disconnection between us as a producer to the artist. It's not moments that as a producer we are proud of, to be honest. But I think, I personally think that we just have to work to finish with a thing, because at the end of the day, we can't run away, right? As much as we're passionate about the craft and everything, we still need money to live on. We still need money to eat. We still need money to like have a roof on top of our head. So I mean, I will always come back to that. Like, look, I'm very sorry. Like today, it seems like I will have to ask you guys to stay back. We have to finish this. I can't afford to like drag it any longer. We just need to get it done so that money could come in, like so that we can pay everyone. And it is a very tough conversation, right? But that's being a producer. Like you have to have that tough conversations with your artists. It's not always like happy days every day. As much as possible, you want it that way, but there's always a time when crunch time comes and you see that certain artists are not like reaching the deadline that you wish for them to be. So then the conversation has to be able to happen between us to just rush it down.
So it sounds like you're just like being their friend and being understanding, but at the same time saying, hey, we've got a objective to hit, we've got a target to hit, right? And you're kind of like trying to gel everyone to a common destination and a common goal, right? Do you see yourself as like a conductor of sorts in an orchestra? Like, you're like,
I do
jumping around from different departments and, getting everyone saying, hey, let's do this together.
Like, for example, TV series, right? TV series is technically usually like about the fastest that you can do is maybe a year time, but tendency TV series comes from a year and a half to 2 years, some of that time frame to finish the whole thing. And you would have like 50 people who's working on your whole project, right? Because I can't say much about other craft because I'm very specific with 3D animation in my years of experience. And in 3D animation, you have a huge team, and you really feel like you're connecting an orchestra, and you're like, sometimes if you have a large announcement for everybody, you would just stand up, everybody, and everybody will look at you, and like, you just gotta like shout the whole thing out, and you're like, okay, stuff like that. I think that's really fun. I think it's really fun when you're working in a huge team because you start to really see everybody collaborating with each other. It's fun.
Cool. So I mean, before every project, right? It also sounds like you got to get everyone working together to see the big picture, right? How do you do that? Do you have a specific way or formula, like where you enroll everyone and say, hey guys, we're going to work together as a team for a year for this TV series or XXX project, How do you gel people together? Yeah.
So that's a little bit tough. That's a gamble, to be honest, like whether or not they will gel together. So what happened was that when we get a project, upon receiving the contract and stuff like that, we already draw out a calendar. We already know how long it will need to take. And for this amount of time frame, how many people we need to get in specific pipeline. And so you sort of have a rough idea of the quality that you need to get. And so you kind of get sort of like the kind of portfolio from the artist that you need. And then it's a process, right? So once you gather the people who has that portfolio that caters to the art style, then the next thing is talking to them, getting to know how they are as a person. And you always have to put yourself like you said, as a producer, you're the conductor of the whole film. And so if you personally can't even gel to the artist, then it's going to be hard to actually make everybody gel together because everybody kind of revolves in what you think personally connects to you. So I guess that's how I go with it. Like I would interview them. If I feel comfortable with them, then I would have like our internal supervisors and like to communicate with them, and then I'll be like, so how do you feel about this guy? And they're like, I think he's okay. I can talk to him. I think we can I can picture myself working with him, and as long as our internal team are comfortable at this point to be able to work together, and they can foresee they can work together with that artist, then then we move forward with the whole getting them in. Stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
I mean that's the first part of it. And then the next thing, whether they gel with each other, that's a whole different story. And there's no way that for me as a producer, I can control that. That's really something that they would things just slowly work on its own when
Yeah,
they're
but how do you manage that, right? Because you still do have to manage like tensions in a team, right? How do you like make sure everyone's like, hey, you know, I know you don't like this guy, but you know, we still got to get things done. Like, you know.
I mean, let me think. I do have an experience like that, but it's like what you said. Like they will tell me, "Hey, you know, I need to talk to you." Like they would come to me, "I need to talk to you," and then we'll go to a room and then we'll be like, "Hey, you know, I don't think I'm like comfortable with like the way this and this works. Um, I work in this way, and the rest of them works differently. I'm not comfortable with it, or I don't know how to position myself." So then, for me as a producer, I can only like listen to how the people who are involved in how they personally work, and then to sort of like untangling the knot and sort of like how to we find that common way of doing it, right? And sometimes you know you don't have to love you know you I'm pretty sure you know it yourself, so you don't have to really like the person to be able to work with that person. I'm very sad to say that, but work is work, right? We love the craft that we do. Sometimes you just have to put aside your personal interest to continue what you passionate to work on.
It's still the bigger picture, yeah?
Yeah, I think you just need to make sure that I mean, it's a little bit tough to say because everything comes, I will always like communicate with them and see how the situation is based on. There are even times that, you know, I would just say, just go on with it. And slowly things will resolve on its own.
Okay.
Sometimes it means one artist would swallow their pride, another would swallow this part of it, and they work together, and if they themselves, without my help, will find that common way of doing it. And so, yeah, we as a producer has to oversee all of this, but sometimes we don't need to always go inside it and solve it because they're human themselves. You know, everybody has the capability to communicate with each other. It's like finding a friend, right? Or when you're in a classroom, you talk to someone, you will find a way, one way or another, to just talk bullshit and find that common interest. It's the same like that. You just have to trust them to be able to solve it sometimes. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge so far in your your years of experience producing as a producer?
The biggest challenge? Oh man.
Is that like, are there a lot of challenges?
There are a lot of different challenges over the course of time. I think the biggest challenge, because when you're a producer, you're not necessarily at the top of the game, which means there are certain things that even though you want to work, you are the conductor, but you're not on your free will to conduct.
Yeah, you're not the owner of the opera or the orchestra. Yeah.
There are still certain rules and regulations that you will have to follow. And sometimes it doesn't really work with how you as a producer want to work, or sometimes it's not even something that you as the whole artist love it, you know. The hardest is like, if let's say 80% of the artists that you work with complain to you over the same thing, and that one thing that they complain is something that you don't even have the authority to solve, that gets really tough because I'm stuck in the middle. So when that happens, it sucks because, well, I mean, every job has its up and downs. This is the downside.
Of course. Yes.
The downside is that you would just have to take it in that, yes, this is something that comes up from my authority, and I'm sorry that you don't like it, but you got to do it. And that happens, very often, and you just have to swallow it, right? And, everybody has to move forward with the situation that you guys are in, because this is just how it is, and I will just have to swallow it that they don't like it. And, things will just dissipate, and then people will get used to it, and then we'll move forward from there.
Yeah, because as artists, sometimes we get too caught up with the craft, and we are like wondering, why is the producer constantly breathing down my neck, right? And then but we don't necessarily see what's happening behind the curtains, right? Because for you as a producer, you have to answer to your bosses, right? And you too have to manage your team. So it's like you're kind of like the meat in the sandwich, if you like. Because you're the one that's running all the heavy machinery, right? You're making sure everything runs smoothly. And we on the artist camp, we tend to be like, I just want to get the work done. And hearing what you just said, I think just opens up the perspective of at least an artist's mind. Because, man, it's not easy being a producer, is it? You gotta manage two different kinds of people, right? The business side and the art side. Yeah.
And I think one part of it, being a producer, you literally have to swallow your pride, because you see, there are certain things that the authority of people higher than me would prefer to leave it as a confidential communication between me as a producer to the client or to whoever is above me. And sometimes the confidential conversation it's not really it doesn't benefit the artist, right? In fact, it's things that it will affect them, and they will ask me, and then I cannot even explain because it's so confidential. And then you're caught in that situation that you have to think, how can I communicate it without actually blurting out all of the confidential stuff, right? And still make them view the perspective in the most open manner. I think that's really tough. Sometimes I will still have problem with that, because there's only so much that you can go around out of the confidential topics, stuff like that. I can tell you, for example, confidential topic is like, hey, so this month I think that we can't really send you that money in this particular day. I think we will have to, delay this for another 1 month. How are you going to tell that to the artist if, let's say, literally a few days later they need to get paid, right? Now that's the part that I can't tell them, like, guys, there's no money. It's not really it doesn't drive them to move forward, right? The only thing that's going to affect is like, why would I want to stay, But I have the responsibility to make sure that this project gets done. And I have to trust that the client would give the money, or whoever it is would give the money, so that it will pay eventually. So that's not my job. My job is not to make sure that the money comes in. My job is to make sure that a project gets done. And so I have to really focus on my role as a producer to get things done. And with that, how am I going to convey to the artist that I'm sorry, money is not going to come in, in time, but we still have to work. That part, especially this happens a lot in Southeast Asia. I really have to say that it's something that you have to have a knack to communicate to them. Like, you have to be able to tell them strategically so that it doesn't blow everybody's mind. I think that's something that I would differ from working in America and working in Southeast Asia.
So you got to communicate differently in these two different markets.
Sure. Yeah. It's just different market has different way of doing things, and certain things you just, especially in Southeast Asia, when a promise is a promise, it's not really a promise. Like, sometimes it will get delayed. Even if it's written in a contract, it will get postponed and stuff. It happens a lot more in Southeast Asia as compared to when you're working in America.
Okay. Do you wish all this stuff were taught back in school? Because I mean, you were
for
prepared for this, right?
sure.
Obviously.
I don't think, even for you guys as an artist, I don't think you guys are prepared for any of this. No school will tell you any of this, right? School will just tell you how to hone your craft. But yeah, we almost wish that the school will have a program that will actually teach you all of this. And back when I was in the States, there was actually a class that just sort of like for 1 hour in a week that tells you on how to run budgeting for your business. But it was just one class out of the rest of the week, and it was just like 1 hour. It never came across to any of us that this 1 hour is the most important thing of all. We always like, oh man, this is the most boring time of it. It's the business of art. We always like, I'm dreading it.
Yes,
but
yes.
Now that we're in this state, we're like, oh man, I should have paid more attention to that because my life depends on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that I see.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, back even when I was in school, we also had a kind of like a program where there was an experienced comic artist who came by to talk to us about the business side of the creative business. And he actually had some angel investors come in to listen into some of our pitches and ideas. Guess what? The students all weren't interested. That module I thought it was interesting, but you had students students are just students, right? I mean, we just want to be creative and at that age, and it's all about coming up with cool stuff. And we all wanted to be cool kids who do cool stuff back then, right?
Yeah.
So you had I remember posters sell out and whatnot, and looking back, I just thought, hey, actually, that is a wasted opportunity. If people really had paid attention, maybe the whole moniker of being a starving artist wouldn't exist because people will know how to hustle and bustle and to make themselves known out there, rather than just focusing on doing your art. Because I'm sure there are many good artists out there or many good creatives out there. But if you don't get noticed, then what's the purpose of generating all this art and all this good artworks? It's all down the trash.
I really almost feel like if I could give a word of advice for the young audience, the young people who wants to go to creative scene, and not necessarily in art, right? Just writers, right, or filmmakers, or I guess 3D animation, any of this that is required to be creative in the craft itself, is that you have to remember at the end of the day, you're gonna come out of this and you need to earn money to live, to go by your life. And you're not gonna end your life with just by yourself. You're gonna have more people that you're gonna have to feed. Your living expenses is gonna rise, and that means that you need to, find a way to earn a lot more money. And yet we're in this stage where being an artist, you're capped. You are unless you're an entrepreneur, it's different. But if you're working for someone and you're a craft maker, you're the artist itself, you will find yourself, you will come to that point where you're a lead or you're a senior certain artist, right? And you can't go any higher because there's a cap, there's an industry cap to that money. But there's no cap to your expenses, right? So I don't know. It's something that I wish that I do sort of warn myself of that when I was younger, but I really did wish that I could learn a lot more on how I can get more benefit financially in the long run out of this.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists and creatives also, they do ponder about that sometimes. Yeah. On in our current situation right now, with all this pandemic happening, has it affected the kind of work that you do as a producer? Has it affected your workflow? Has it affected how you manage your projects? Not that everyone's stuck at home.
Mm, Well, I think it's a little bit different for me because I have left my job just at the start of when the pandemic started. So for me, I have a different experience through this COVID. It's more of me gathering all of the skills I have, honed, and now is a time for me to pour it out
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah, it becomes a time of self-reflection and like, yeah, I've spent 12 years keep learning new skills, and now I think it's a good time to start pouring it out. So that's where my experience in COVID has been, which is I've been putting into like finding a way to sell my IP, creating an IP, see how I can market it, how to brand myself in the whole current trend that there is going on. What is my expect value of my brand, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's where I've been focusing my attention into.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're creating your own IP. I mean, would you mind sharing like what is your IP about?
Yeah, so my IP is a character. Maybe I think Dominic, pretty sure we could share with you guys with.
Yeah, I'll drop the link on the YouTube video. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think for now I could show you guys. I don't know if like the screen is going to show, but let's see. It is this character called Newts.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
that's
a
cute.
Noodle.
It's a noodle. Ah, that's cute.
Yeah. So I've been spending my time drawing. So my artist skills still intact.
Yes. So you can still draw and you can still create cool stuff.
Yes. See, this is where it gets very nice because I get to expect of it. So I've been spending a lot of time strategizing how to create a lot more content for Newts. I want to put myself out there for to promote like Asian food that caters in the realm of noodle, right? I don't want to put my sell point to specifically the Singapore audience, but I want to brand myself like literally out there for the Southeast Asian community. I think like how you have like those scenes where you see mukbang, and there's a lot of this trend when you see Korean TV series that really promotes a lot of their Korean food. It makes you hungry, right? It makes you want to taste their food. It makes you want to like crave for what it tastes like. They look like they're enjoying it. And it's the same like how Ghibli did it for Japanese food. So I see that there was something that I want to, there's somewhere that I want to put myself into. I want to promote Southeast Asian food. I want to start to draw a lot more, maybe like Singapore bak chor mee, or maybe laksa, or maybe like even like, I mean, I grew up in Indonesia, so I also want to promote some of the Indonesian food. And that's going to react, I personally think that's going to react a lot of people to want to try to taste it. So it's not just about creating a character, but it's about creating a trend using the character. It's more than just drawing that character out and creating content just because I like it. So that's where I am. And every day is a journey of like strategizing how I can develop a lot more content that would make people eager want to try Southeast Asian food. So
that sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, you with your producer background, I think that has really like give it a different twist, right? Because you're not just doing artwork that's just taking a shot and just seeing what happens. You actually have a strategy, a process that could get you a higher chance of getting the recognition and building a followership and whatnot. Yeah.
And I think see, when I start to draw it, strategizing the content, strategizing. Can't spell that word. Strategizing, sort of like who could invest to it, right? I have been building my connection, talking to people, and so I kind of know based on my connections who can I approach to it, right? And then I also know how to create a system, a timeline, and a budget system to know what it takes to create how much amount of content and how much amount of money I need to grow this bigger. And I also have a pool of artists scenes that I can also gather once I have enough capital to actually hopefully help me out in this whole thing. But I mean, I'm still at the starting point. I'm starting to draw it myself for now, but hopefully it'll be a company of its own. It'll be growing big.
Wow, it sounds like you're really prepping the grease for the business machine.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's exciting time for me. So COVID can just, I really hope that COVID ends. But for me right now, it's a really good time for me to focus on really investing my time for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful reminder to just don't waste time in this pandemic. I mean, everyone wants it to end as early as possible. Because it's such a big disruption in our lives. But at the same time, it's also a good opportunity to just relook and reflect and see, what can be done better. What have I been doing all this years or months or whatever? Can things be different? I mean, obviously things are very different right now. But how can we leverage it to make it, the best possible chance for us to reinvent ourselves, to reposition ourselves, and to, hopefully come out with something new, which is exactly what you're doing, which is great. Yeah.
I think it's when you're working before this whole COVID, every one of us would work literally from 9 to 5, coming home super tired. You just want to rest. You don't want to do any other work. You don't even want to use your brain. You just want to zone out from watching Netflix. So this is a good time, right? Because you're stuck in your room. You're just so tired, looking at your screen. So just maybe take your time to switch it up and ponder and reflect upon what you have been in your years and see how you want to be in the coming future and how you can start from now to invest on that. Right?
Yeah. And it sounds like you are reconnecting with yourself as well, right? While you're doing that. Because you're figuring out who you are, who I am, what I'm doing, Yeah. So that's great.
Thank you. Yeah. I hope you guys will promote it, like it.
Yeah, so give it a like. So I think the moniker is @Noodlies, right? How do you spell that?
NOODSLY.
Yeah, so do support Nadia at NOODSLY. Noodly.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a new IP that she's creating, and give her a like. Maybe you can also whet your appetites while you're having some food and some delicious Southeast Asian cuisine that you can that you want her to illustrate or to put into a brand. Do leave her a message and leave a shout out.
Thank you, Dom.
No worries. You're more than welcome. So I think that'll be the end of our show today. Thank you guys for sticking around. Come Sunday. Next Wednesday, we will have another Indonesian artist. I think this week has been a week for Indonesian artists.
I don't think you introduced me for being an Indonesian.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But you did mention a little bit about your heritage, so I kind of it's been stuck. I mean, it's assumed that people will know based on
my name,
your name. So okay, no worries. Nadia is from Indonesia. My bad, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, this 3 episodes, it seems like it's I've been featuring Indonesian artists. But you know what? Southeast Asia is big, and we have many artists that we want to just introduce and feature them, because I just feel like there's not been many platforms and opportunities for Southeast Asians to just show up and show their work. So next week we have another Indonesian artist. Next week. I keep saying next week. Next Wednesday. Her name will be put up on Facebook and Instagram. Do check it out very shortly. Stick around. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday, 9 p.m. See you guys. Bye.
Thank you, guys.